I know where there's some, right here in the hall, clerk.
No, Molly, not in there. I have
Hello, it's an empty bench. I finished up the RPC project, and I have one now that is going to be off my beaten path, and but it might be interesting. We'll see. I was out shopping for a larger tube tester. My little tube tester couldn't handle 7-pin tubes. So we found a nice Heathkit TC1, and the guy happened to have this. For sale as well. And I got it for $10. It's a Zenith. This is the Zenith Royal 760 portable radio. It's portable and then it weighs about 5 pounds. It's really heavy. It's a transistor radio, but it weighs a ton. And we'll see why. It's a leather case, all sides. Needs some cleanup, needs some cleaning. There's a, if you look closely at the top, you can just make out a ring right there in the leather, discoloration in the circle. And that is where the compass dial went. And why is there a compass dial on a radio? It's because this radio is both broadcast band and long wave. And I know next to nothing about long wave, so I'm going to get to study up on that a bit. Long wave still is, I believe, used for radio navigation in some places. And may still be used in the United States for that. I don't know. But these are frequencies below the standard broadcast band. Hence, broadcast is medium wave and long wave is long wave. So you could take this radio, switch it to long wave, tune in one of the long wave stations, usually marker stations, I believe, and then you could null out the signal by pointing the radio at the source of the signal. So if the signal got nulled out when you were pointing in that direction, that was the direction the radio station was in. So it's kind of an interesting project. I've never seen one before. I hadn't heard of them. It turns out that these were quite popular. This line, the Royal line, they went up to 1,000, I think, Royal 1000. What was I going to say? Oh, I got it for $10. I thought it was a fair price. I don't know if it works or not. The guy I bought it from didn't know if it works or not. But they sold for around $90 in 1958. And the $90 radio in 1958 was an expensive item. So this was a high-ticket portable radio for the time. So let me get a little different setup here and we'll take a closer look at it. It's a relatively simple front panel. On-off volume is right here. It does have a pretty fancy vernier tuning dial right here. So you can do some pretty fine tuning, which makes sense for something that was going to be used for airplane navigation. On this side is the broadcast and low wave LW switch. I don't think that's the original switch. This is brown and worn out. It's worn out so much you can't really grab it. These were black, so I suspect this originally was black. And the switch is missing on this side, and this side is navigation and normal. And I've read that when you switched it to navigation, it took the AGC out of the circuit so that you could pick up any station in essence. any long base station in essence. But that's the front. I found a source. A guy sold me one of these replacement that looks good, and I suspect these are exactly the same button. So when this one comes in, if it looks good and it works, I'll cast it and make I don't know, a couple more, so I can have one here that I can actually grab. This one's just all worn away. So that's the front panel. The top is, as I said, in pretty good shape. The handle's in good shape. It's dirty, but from 1958 it makes sense. And there's the discoloration for that ring. I suspect I'll have to fabricate something for that. It was just an aluminum disc, as far as I could tell, or thin steel. And it had the degrees on the compass, and it spun freely on this bolt right there. Side, paint stain or something. Other side, more paint stains. What's a radio without paint stains, right? And the back has the snaps to open the case, and the bottom has something. Like something might have been glued there once. Hard to tell. Hard to tell what was there. So let me back up a bit and we'll open the case. The guy that sold this to me said, just out of curiosity, he said he replaced the batteries to see if he could make it work. And I suspect, I've looked in here before, and I suspect he did try that, and it didn't work, and I'll show you why. But it's an all-transistor radio. Each transistor, interestingly enough, is in a socket, so you can pull them out. And see if I can get that back in there. That been, yeah. So each transistor is in a socket. There's some trimmers. These are IF, I presume. There's the air cap. Probably, I don't know, audio or power or both. Although power, this runs off of 6 C cells, I think they are. So it's a 9-volt. It's a 9-volt system, which is kind of odd for me because I'm so used to working on the voltages that you find in a tube radio that a maximum of 9 volts seems insufficient. And there's the antenna up here. So when we look at this is not the correct battery case. Not a case at all. This had, when it came from the factory, it had a plastic 3-part tube, and each part of the tube held 2 batteries for the 6 altogether. And that is going to be tough to find, I think. I might also have to try to make one of those too. It's a Model 49 CZ854 speaker. I forget what the chassis number is. Oh, I think it's on here somewhere. Yeah, there it is. It's an 8AT42Z2 chassis. And it belonged to a guy in Umatilla, Oregon at one point. So what I think happened with the person I bought it from is he saw these 2 spaces for batteries, and he put a couple of batteries in there, and it didn't work. And what he didn't know was there were 4 more, and they're under here. And when you pull that foam out, they are still under there, and they look like they've seen a lot better days. They're, I don't know, swollen. Yeah, they have a complexion problem. This bunch is held in by a zip tie. You can see where the original case was taken out and replaced with this interesting arrangement. I'll bet you dollars to donuts that every one of these batteries is shot. So what I will do is I will start by removing these guys and getting myself 6 fresh batteries, and I'll just leave this configuration because it probably worked at one time. It's not original, and I'd like to figure out a way to make it original, but I will get new batteries. Oh, there's corrosion on the end of that. So the battery set that was in here, and these guys as well, corroded away. So what I'm hoping is the radio itself works fine, and the batteries are just the problem. So I'll do that. But I wanted to mention one other thing. As you do when you get a new radio, you start searching for schematics and information, and I ran across this company right here on the internet. It's called, it's called childhoodradio.com. And it's an interesting idea for a business. What he does is he provides a schematic. It's not a great schematic, and my old eyes will have to have a better copy. I mean, it's a good schematic. It's just the quality isn't quite what I need to be able to see what I'm doing. But he provides you the documentation and a repair kit. And the repair kit, in this case, and all the cases for all the, he specializes in Zeniths, I think, for this kit approach. But he gives you a set of 5 new caps. So you know you're going to recap the radio anyway, probably, and you can just buy those and the schematics from him. So it's kind of a fun deal. I've never seen anything like that for any other brand of radio or any other style. But there it is. So I have the caps it needs, and I have documentation, which is all good. That's good. Okay, the battery packs out. This one is pretty badly broken right here. This one is fine. And let's take a look at the batteries that were in there. These 3 sunbeams all look trashed. The newest one is this E-circuit. Never heard of them. E-circuit. This should be 1.5 volts, if it's even close to working. I don't know if you can read that. There. Let's see what it is. 0.87 volts. Not so good. Boy. .69 volts. So these aren't reaching their 1.5 volt potential, are they? Probably no point in looking at these, but what the heck. 0.59. And 0.42. So 4 batteries that were in the case all suck. The new ones, 1.6. So I've got 2 different varieties here. Duracell and Eveready's. 1.53. So the new batteries should be fine. So now we'll fit some new batteries into this case and try this radio. I'm anxious. I might have to, yeah, it's probably good enough. I might have to tape that. Let's see, yeah, a little masking tape. Just need to hold it in there for long enough to see what happens. maybe. Yeah, that'll work. And then in here, I sanded some of the corrosion away from that. This is not going to be the final answer to how these batteries are going to go in here, but for this purpose, it should work just fine. Now, presuming this was all done correctly, let's see what happens.
Home delivery
Whoa.
online shopping option. It's extremely affordable and customizable. And if you sign up now, you can even get a free custom radio ad. Answer
Wow.
a few questions, listen, and approve the ad.
Oh, that he had 12 or how many rings. There's great photos of him out there with all.
Status in his work with the World Trade Organization.
Get the Gardner Minshew. Minshew Mania. I think Minshew Mania. Those guys. Now, Joe Fortenbaugh, who we're going to talk with at 5:20.
Wow, how about that? That's probably this light. Yes. I have a fluorescent light there that's just so noisy. I'm going to replace it with LEDs.
This is tag.
Well, that's too cool. This works.
Right.
They're living a lie.
There's so much blah, blah, blah on AM today.
You couldn't go anywhere. I mean, what? Uverse, Fios, Suddenlink, Mediacom, Wow, Armstrong, and more. KnowingTheWord.com.
3 or 4.
Я давно уже не ем,
Ah,
не готовлю.
there's our local Russian language
Дети готовят.
station. All right. Let's see if I can get this on long wave. There isn't enough knob there to grab. So I have never in my life listened to long wave. I'll turn this down to nav. And I don't know what to expect, if anything, on here. Well, the answer is there's nothing on long wave. Or long wave doesn't work, but it sounded like it was working. But again, I don't know anything about it. I have to do some research, see what's still being broadcast on long wave. I suspect they're markers. I think I read somewhere that some places in the world there is still voice broadcast on a long wave band or two. But you know, the odds of getting it here are nil. But boy, it works. That's a treat. That's a treat. Well, okay. So next I will take the knobs off, try to do that without breaking them, and dragging a battery pack around, and pull the chassis. As far as I can tell, there are 4 Phillips screws, one down in here, one here, and one in here, that connect the chassis to the front panel. So I'll pull that out. We'll check, see if the speaker is okay. It looks like it's okay. See if there needs to be any cleanup in there. I will replace these guys since I have them in particular. But you know, it's a 1958 radio, so the odds but it needs new caps. They're pretty high, new electrolytics. Pardon the truck. I noticed a few minutes ago that right here is, although it's unmarked on here, you look at the schematic and this is an earphone jack. So you could listen to this with earphones. I don't know whether they're low impedance or high impedance. We'll figure that out too. But cool. Very cool. Alright, that'll be it for this video. And the first one in the probably going to be fairly short series on, which is a miracle for me, very short series on the Zenith Royal 760 Navigator. So until next time, be safe, take care of yourself. See ya.